Hey everybody, welcome back. Now, here's another great communication tip. Be positive. Why is this so important? The challenge is that if you talk about negative things, people will get excited, they'll even join in, they'll go back and forth about the negativity, and you'll think you're having a great conversation. But what's happening is, and we learned this from neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, is that people will make neuro associations. It means when two things happen together, they get linked up, they get connected in our mind as being the same. So in this case, you're being negative and they're looking at your face. They're being negative and they're looking at your face. There's negativity happening and they're looking at your face. Pretty soon, every time they look at your face, they feel negative. It's not a good association. You want the opposite. Every time they see you, you want them to feel positive just when you walk in the room. You want positive neuroassociations, not negative neuroassociations. Remember, people are always linking things up. Don't get linked to the negativity. Don't be the bearer of bad news. Always be the bearer of good news. And remember, we're trying to connect with somebody and have them like you. To have likability, you're supposed to make the conversation more engaging, more fun, more empowering for them. There's very few ways to do that through negativity. So, if you can't talk about something positive, skip the negative, drive on. And once again, there's always something positive. Now, here's the other key reason why you only want to have positive conversations. This is a great old therapy quote. It says, very few people will remember what you said, but they always remember how you made them feel. So the major takeaway when they leave you is, how did you make them feel? Because literally we communicate with emotional messages. Remember that, emotional messages. You want these to be positive emotions. Always make people feel good about themselves, about their lives, about who they are, and they will absolutely love you. So always try to leave people with a good experience and on a good high note. Now, tell stories. Why tell stories? Because stories are very, very powerful. When we're little kids, we learn from stories. Our dads tell us stories, our moms tell us stories. We are literally designed to learn from and listen to stories. Stories are powerful because they get us to picture things. We have an emotional response to them. We get into the story. Stories make it easier to remember certain points because we've had a full body of experience. We've pictured it, we've felt it, we've associated maybe with a character in the story. We are literally hardwired to learn from stories. So stories are a great way to engage people, keep attention, open their minds, make a point. It's an excellent communication strategy. Matter of fact, that's what most professional speakers do. They tell a story, tell a story, tell a story. Boom. Make a point, link to another story. Tell a story, tell the story, tell the story. Boom. Make a point. Link to another story. Tell the story, tell the story, tell the story, make a point. Boom. By the time you're done, in about 45 minutes, they've told 4 or 5 different, 10 to 15 minute stories. The audience is absolutely engaged. They remember the 3, 4, or 5 points that were told to them, and off they go and they say, wow, that was a brilliant speaker. Well, he didn't do a lot of educating, but these brilliant speakers know you can probably walk away with only 1, 2, or 3 messages anyways, so you might as well spend that time, instead of giving people 50 messages, give them 3 or 4, because that's the most they're ever going to walk away with anyways, and make those very engaging and lock them in by telling a story. They know that's what holds attention, they know that's what creates retention, and it's a great communication technique. So let's go over a list of why stories are great. First one is, and we've talked about this a couple of times, is that they do hold attention. They are fantastic at holding attention, like nothing else, literally. people don't defend against stories. So it's a way to get inside somebody's mind without the normal objections and shields and biases and filters and everything else. That's a wonderful reason why stories are great. Retention. If you give out a dry, cold fact, it's very hard for people to remember it. Human retention rate's about 4%. If you tell a story and they engage in the story, then retention rates can be really high. You know, maybe half the audience or 3/4 of the audience will remember the story. Sometimes they'll remember the story for life. It has a very high retention rate, not only, you know, a day later or 30 days later, but years later. They evoke emotion, and emotion locks in learning. Think about people who are traumatized and literally can't get rid of the thoughts. There was so much emotion at the time that it's with them for life. It haunts every day. So emotion is huge. Emotion is great for locking in learning. Why do you remember your first kiss, your wedding day, when your first child is born, you know, a car accident? Because when anything is emotionally intense, your body actually releases a chemical called vasopressin, and it locks in memories. It's the hormone inside your body that encodes and decodes your memories. So even at low levels, it's on a scale how much vasopressin it gets released. So stories are a nice low-level way to release that vasopressin and lock in memories, lock in the learning. People love stories because they're interesting. Cold, dry facts are boring and are difficult to remember. Remember, we're hardwired to learn from stories. Therefore, they're more interesting to us, they're more engaging, and they lock in the memories better. And finally, and this is the biggest reason, they help to drive home points. You know, they really contain good, solid lessons that people can learn from, and it's a way to give people an emotional reason, a why, a motive, which we said is the root word of motivation, for why they should do something. So stories, more than facts, like 5 or 10 to 1, will get people to actually get up and take an action. And that's what we want. When we're communicating with people, we don't want to communicate just to communicate and share information. You could do that with a letter or hand them a book. When we're communicating, we want them to take some kind of action. Stories are the best for this. That's your tips for today, and I'll see you in the next section.